So primary fuzz is a great way that you can add dust or like a fuzzy coating for things. So for characters, I use this for like peach fuzz. So if you look at your face, the light at certain angles will catch just that little soft, finite hairs that are on our face and nose and back and other areas. So you can use this to kind of fake that, as well as dust on a surface, anything you want, just kind of a haze over it. The gain is going to turn this attribute on, so you'll find anything in the PXR surface has a gain to it. 1 means it's all the way on, 0 means it's all the way off. There's certain attributes that I like to have all the way turned on, and then there's others that you can kind of play with the gain to balance all your attributes. You're going to also want to put a map in the color to break it up and add complexity to it. And then we have a cone angle, which controls how much fuzz we kind of see wrapping around the object. You don't have to use this one for this month's assignment, but it's a fun one to play with. So if you want to add it to something and you feel like it's going to make a good impact on your model, please feel free to do so. So we'll jump inside here, and I'll scroll down to fuzz, and I'm going to turn the gain to 1. And you'll probably have noticed that it maybe got a little fuzzy along the edges. As I crank up this cone angle, it's going to make the entire object a little bit more kind of hazy or fuzzy. And it's becoming a little bit harder to see because it's kind of a gradual thing. So I'm going to turn off my IPR renderer up here. I'm going to go to RenderMan, Tools. I'm going to launch the IT. And this is going to allow me to save my renders so I can compare them later on and see like those really small differences. So fuzz isn't one of those things that's going to have like a huge visual impact right away, but you definitely you will notice it. All right, so here's my IT. Let's go back to Maya. And I'm going to go out of full screen, otherwise it does that wonky looking thing as it jumps back and forth. So this is with fuzz turned on. So I launched the IT, I hit my render button, and then it started rendering. And in the bottom it'll tell you how long it takes to render. So it's just a sphere, it goes pretty quick. In fact, let's zoom in, click in the window, hit R, and re-render. So we're a bit closer. So this is with fuzz turned on all the way. And then now I'm going to go in to fuzz and turn the gain all the way off. And this is almost done. We could hit escape to end early, which this should be enough. Makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to click on here so I can input a texture into it. And I'm going to go to File. And I downloaded a texture that replicates dust. And you can see here I have my project set from an earlier demo I did, so it's not set to the correct folder. So I'm going to set my project, because I actually put it in my coil folder, even though I'm not working out of that right now. So I'm going to go to Documents, 3DF Materials, to that coil 2 I've been working out of, and click Open. Now my project's set there, so if I click on this icon, you can see it goes to the source images of the coil folder. And I have this Dust 06 that I downloaded. And I'll link to this right here. It's free dust textures and overlays. So we're going to use these black and white patterns to break up our fuzz layer. Okay, I think I chose this one to use specifically. So we have that guy in there. Anything used as a black and white map, you're going to want to check on alpha's luminance, so it knows to pull those numeric values from it. And let's go back to that PXR surface and turn our fuzz gain all the way up again. And we'll leave this at 20. That's a little high for what I usually use, but it'll allow us to see it easier. I'm going to hit R to render. And now you can see kind of these lines and such going through. So that map's being broken up by the color. So we can definitely see a difference between all fuzz and some partial fuzz. This will also be based on how our UVs are laid out. So this might not be the best object to use, because if we look at this, if we turn on our checkerboard, the default UVs are pretty stretched for the sphere. So just straight up mapping this texture isn't going to yield great results. But you can see how it adds complexity by just breaking that up a little bit. And maybe we want to take the cone angle down to 6, so it's just around the edges. And maybe we want to take the gain down to 0.6, and let's hit render again. And now visually that we can see what it's doing to our object, now we can kind of tweak and play with those values. So now I'm barely seeing some of those lines. It's more so happening to the exterior. We're not getting that fuzz towards what's facing the camera, but we still have a little bit of that haze, and it's being broken up by that additional map.